Episode 2 of Star Trek Picard is released. This time, Jean-Luc is on the hunt for clues and details surrounding his tea-drinking android. Likewise, we're also on the hunt for Easter eggs, so here are 26 details you might have missed from Star Trek Picard Episode 2.
Hell yeah.
Hey everyone, my name is Captain Jack and welcome to Trek Central. Following last week's premiere of Picard Episode 1, we were introduced into a brand new modern Star Trek universe. Furiously, we hunted down and searched for connections and references to items within the Trek universe that we know of, and oh boy, there was a lot. Today we'll be covering Episode 2, but if you want to watch our review, breakdown and details video for last week, see the channel videos below. As a warning, this video will contain spoilers for Star Trek Picard Season 1, Episode 1 and 2. You have been warned. Before I go any further, it would massively help us if you subscribe to Trek Central and enjoy our content here. We're striving forward making brand new modern Star Trek content for everyone and are super excited to be talking about Star Trek Picard. The series is a brand new launch into a modern era of Star Trek content, but even so, that does not mean they've left the past behind. Throughout this episode, there are many references to Trek that has came before Picard, as well as a few other details you might have missed. So we picked out 26 details to tell you about today, so let's jump into it. Our first little detail, which is kinda obvious, revolves around a particular day. The episode starts out on Mars during First Contact Day. This was a day celebrating the first successful testing of a warp-capable ship by Zefram Cochrane. The successful test flight was noticed by a Vulcan scout ship who then landed on Earth and initiated first contact with humans. The events of this are explored in the movie Star Trek First Contact, which is easily one of the best Star Trek movies out there. Give it a watch if you haven't. During our time on Mars at this episode, we see multiple new Starfleet ships, but these are actually based off an old John Eves design. This makes sense as John Eves has been brought back to concept artwork for Star Trek Picard. The first ship we see is kind of like a small little ship that are carrying the containers in orbit of Mars. The design was recently seen in a First Duty exhibit on a certificate for Jean-Luc Picard having joined the Faster Than Light Club. New shuttles can also be seen. They do look like the V-Class shuttles seen in the concept art of the Enterprise E's hangar bay. They're also called the McCall class as well. They've been seen in Star Trek Ships of the Line calendar, which was released a few years back, as well as concept art for the Enterprise E, which also featured the ship doing a source of separation. Still on Mars for the moment, one of the workers on Mars says they wish for replicators still use the Una amino matrices. This could be a reference to Una, also known as Number 1, first officer under Captain Christopher Pike of the USS Enterprise. In the Star Trek short trek, Q&A, Una says that she had created her own food synthesizer matrix. This short trek was written by Michael Chabon, the showrunner of Picard Season 1, so it makes sense for him to reference his own previous Star Trek work. This is our time to subtly insert that we'd like a Captain Pike series. That is all, moving on. During the attack on Mars, there is a scene in which Starfleet security officers enter the room where the FA android is disabling the defense network. They are wearing Starfleet uniforms from 2385, which can also be seen in the Picard tie-in comic Star Trek Picard Countdown by IDW. Picard's 2385 Admiral uniform was also premiered at Destination Star Trek Birmingham 2019. If they've shown these, then we can hope to see Admiral Picard on the bridge of his new ship, the USS Verity, in his Admiral's uniform. Honestly, that would be amazing. These uniforms do make sense for the time, and I love how his continuity is staying true to the actual timescale of the series. I love it. Okay, so while Picard, Laris and Zhaban are actually analysing the data, both of them are said to be former Tal Shiar operatives within Episode 2. This is cool, but it isn't the first time this has been mentioned, as we found out about this in the Star Trek Picard Countdown comic I mentioned previously. The Tal Shiar were essentially the secret police of a Romulan Star Empire, and have been explored throughout Star Trek many times. Lars actually mentions the species known as the Gorn and their government. They were first seen in Star Trek the original series episode The Arena, in which Kirk is forced to fight against the Gorn in one of the silliest fight scenes ever to be shot in Star Trek. It's still a very cool episode though. Fun fact, we do actually see a Gorn in a Star Trek Enterprise episode, but I'll let you tell me which episode that was down below in the comment section. Hint, it's in a mirror. Okay, chatting about the Borg Cube, which is actually the Romulan reclamation site, it's had its connection with the Collective severed due to a sub-matrix collapse. This could be due to the events of Star Trek Voyager episode Endgame, in which the Borg were infected with a neurological pathogen, which severed the connection between the Borg Queen and some of the Collective. This also isn't the first time we found a Borg Cube disconnected from a Collective, as in the Voyager episode Unity, an electrokinetic storm had disabled a Borg Cube and severed its connection. These disconnected Borg formed a collective of their own, known as a cooperative. Back on Earth, Dr. Moritz Bennion visits Picard at his vineyard. It's revealed he previously served with Jean-Luc on the USS Stargazer. Moritz could have been the chief medical officer assigned to the Stargazer while Picard was touring on the starship. Picard first served on the bridge crew of a Stargazer, but when its captain and first officer were killed on a mission, he took command of the starship. Starfleet Command appointed him as the vessel's new commanding officer due to his actions in saving the ship. Therefore, he remained captain for 22 years before eventually losing the vessel. The designers of Star Trek Picard focused heavily on the USS Stargazer, as we see multiple references to Picard's first command so far. I wonder if we'll see anyone else from it. Moritz says that Picard has a defect within his parietal lobe. This could be due to him having rheumatic syndrome, something we first learnt about in the Next Generation episode All Good Things, during the anti-time timeline. This syndrome caused deterioration of the synaptic pathways. It could lead to confusion, delusions, and eventual death. Whether Picard actually has this type of syndrome, it's unclear as of yet, though it does leave us on a little bit of a cliffhanger. Maybe Picard needs a special type of doctor. Still on Earth for the time being, inside the Starfleet building, which is actually Starfleet headquarters, there is a holographic display of ships. The first ship is to be shown is the Constitution-class USS Enterprise from Star Trek Discovery. I say Star Trek Discovery as this is specifically Pike's Enterprise we see him command in Season 2 of the show. Following that Enterprise, we then see the Galaxy-class USS Enterprise D. It makes sense to show these two, but I'd love it if we could see the rest of the Enterprises. All the way from the NX, all the way up to the E. I'd love that. Then again, there's probably not enough time for us to see them all, but still, hope for the future. In Admiral Clancy's office, we see a galaxy map of the Alpha and Beta quadrants. It doesn't look too different from what we've seen before, but it is particularly interesting that the Romulan space is still under Romulan control, probably by this new Romulan Free State government we'll talk more about now. The Romulan Free State is named in this episode, and so far, it looks to be the successor government of the Romulan Star Empire. How this came to be is not entirely clear as of yet, though with the Romulan supernova incident happening, this most likely contributed to it. A fun little fact, which isn't really a detail of this episode, but I really wanted to mention it anyway, Admiral Clancy, who is the Starfleet Commander-in-Chief, is played by actress Anne Magnuson. Fun fact, Anne Magnuson actually sang in a band called the Vulcan Death Grip, which actually obviously took its name from Star Trek. It's been quite funny and I just wanted to mention that. While at Chateau Picard, Dr. Agnes Jardie picks up Isaac Asimov's book, The Complete Robot. The Complete Robot is a collection of science fiction short stories about robots by Isaac Asimov. It makes complete sense that the synthetic research doctor would be interested in such a book, even though Picard doesn't particularly care for himself, yet still owns it. Following her book adventures, Jurati mentions the relationship between Bruce Maddox and Data. This interesting friendship was shown in the Next Generation episode Data's Day, in which Data recorded an entire day's normal events on the Enterprise from his perspective so that Maddox could study Data again. We've actually done an entire history checkup on Commander Bruce Maddox, so if you want to learn more about his character, who he is and why he keeps getting mentioned in Star Trek Picard, check out the link down below in the video description. The science academy that Dahj was said to have attended is known as R3SA, which stands for Regulus Free Science Academy. This science academy has actually been mentioned before in Star Trek Deep Space Nine episode's Fascination, in which one of Jake Sisko's girlfriends was accepted into the science academy. Talking more about the Romulans, we actually see fully rigid Romulans in this episode, showing that not all Romulans have rigid or smooth foreheads, which just adds to the diversity of the species and doesn't make them all look so alike. This has been spoken about by the series' executive producers, mainly on how different types of Romulan species will be seen within Star Trek Picard. When you think about it, it does make sense in a lore way. Previously, these different Romulans could have been doing their own thing, but after the supernova, they've came together as a species. As the Borg are from the Delta Quadrant and occupy a large area of space, they're obviously of assimilated species from many that haven't been met by the Alpha or Beta quadrants. While the Romulans are in some form helping the former Borg drones, they refer to the ones whose species is unknown as the Nameless. You think that a Borg cube stores this type of information somewhere, but then again, it's probably unlikely. Moving back to Starfleet HQ, on Commodore O's desk there is a box of a Vulcan Edict. On it, the Vulcan Edict was a symbol of Vulcans and represented their philosophy of infinite diversity in infinite combinations. Fun fact, Star Trek as a brand currently in the real world shares this actual catchphrase. Another item on O's desk looks to be a replica of a Kishara, an ancient Vulcan artifact that contains the writings of Serac, the father of Vulcan's logic. This was seen in the Serenite arc of Enterprise when Captain Jonathan Archer found this ancient artifact. Commodore O is said to be an ally of Azat Vash. We have had similar examples of Vulcans entering into conspiracies with deep cover Romulan operatives before, most notably during Star Trek Enterprise's Serenite arc, in which the head of a Vulcan High Command, Administrator Vilas, was working with Romulan agents to help the Romulans take over Vulcan. While we are here, if you've spotted anything we missed, then let us know via the comment section below. Star Trek Picard appears to be full of references and connections to previous iterations of Star Trek, so we can't wait to see what's in store for episode 3 coming next week. While Picard is planning to go out and find Bruce Maddox, as well as Soji, Dahj's sister, Zhaban asks Picard if he can turn to any of his former crew, naming Riker, Worf, and LaForge. This does confirm to us that Geordi LaForge did not die during the attack on Utopia Planitia, and as it was First Contact Day, he's probably celebrating on Earth somewhere. The rocks we see Picard walking by in the trailer and episode are actually Vikki's rocks. They've been used as a shooting location for Star Trek since the original series. This was the first time we have actually visited Vikki's rocks themselves in Star Trek, where Raffi is apparently set up. It seems quite poetic to finally visit the location on Earth within the show. While Picard is walking off, having been turned away, Raffi asks him if he bought the 86 vintage of Chateau Picard. Now, as Jean-Luc Picard retired in the year of 2385, his first harvest of Chateau Picard would be the 2386. Now, what is really cool is that you can actually buy Chateau Picard wine, and on its label it's said to be from the year 2386. Our own team members, Commander Bree and Commander Ketwolski, have said this wine is very good apparently. I've not tried it myself yet, but hey, when it's shipped to the UK maybe. Towards the end of this episode, Lieutenant Rizzio pays a visit to Narek through holographic communication. The sophistication of holocommunication was seen in Star Trek Nemesis, in which Shinzon managed to talk to Picard in his own ready room. Holocommunication was previously seen used in the Federation as early as 2256, but after the control incident of 2257, it fell out of use. It would not be seen again until it was used in 2373, most likely it was deemed safe to be used once again. Speaking about Lieutenant Rizzio again, she's undergone surgical alterations to be an undercover operative within Starfleet. This type of procedure has been seen in Trek since the original series episode The Trouble with Tribbles, and has been pretty much everywhere in most Trek series. And there we have it, those all are little details, Easter eggs and things that generally stuck out to us in Star Trek Picard Episode 2, Maps and Legends. If you spotted anything we missed, feel free to let us know via the comment section on this video. For all our helpful links and other little tidbits of information, don't forget to check out the video description. We'll be back with a brand new Star Trek Picard content all week, so stay tuned for more. If you're looking for a discussion around Picard Episode 2, tune into Trek Central live on Sundays at 9 PM GMT right here. If you like this video and want to keep up to date with all things Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to subscribe to Trek Central here on YouTube. You can also follow us on social media for daily updates, as well as visit our website for weekly articles. We're also now rolling out our community Discord server, so come and join the party ahead of the new series. For now, I've been Captain Jack, thanks for watching Trek Central, and I hope you enjoy the new series, and we'll of course see you very soon.